Czech Center for Investigative Reporting and Dark Riviera present Protagonista, a war room content project hosted by Pavla Holcová. Protagonista puts investigative reporters at the heart of the story. Wojciech Cieśla is a Polish investigative journalist who uncovered those responsible for the Nord Stream pipeline explosion. He talks about the complicated political dilemmas created by his findings.
People sailing on the Baltic Sea became very helpful in this case because we decided to check all, I don't remember how many, like let's say 600 boats being at the time, so beginning of September, end of September, on this area between Denmark, Sweden, Germany and Poland. So we checked all of them.
How do you do it?
It's a secret. No, it's not a secret. There are apps, there are tools that allow you to track different vessels.
And there is the owner.
And who is the owner? So, yeah, we just started to we started to find sailors who were at the same moment, at the same area around. And we found some people. We found a sailor in Sweden.
What did he tell you?
That he saw a boat with a Ukrainian crew, quite loud. And for him, it was obvious that they are not sailors. There is sort of behavior you do as a proper sailor. For example, when someone that is sailing alone is coming to the port, your duty, your obligation is to help with mooring. Mm-hmm. And this Ukrainian crew was at the port when someone alone came. All the people around were helping with mooring this person, apart from Ukrainians. So that was one piece of information. We collected a lot of pieces. Another one was a Polish crew who spotted this. The yacht was called Andromeda, by the way, this German boat. So Polish crew spotted Andromeda in Kristiansand, close to Bornholm. And they also realized something weird, that they are not the sailors necessarily. Fun fact, they had a little Ukrainian flag on this Andromeda boat. So if it would be a secret service...
They wouldn't be such idiots to claim they did
I think
the job.
I think so. I hope so. So with those informations, we somehow collected the puzzles and published the first story about it. And of course, it wouldn't happen without the help of colleagues from Die Zeit, Süddeutsche Zeitung, WDR, different German media outlets, because they were very interested in, plus colleagues from Denmark and definitely from Sweden, from Expressen.
But tell me how they did it, if you were able to recreate how they did it, because if, as far as I understand it, going on a boat somewhere where it's a rough sea and dive 80 meters without anchoring the boat, putting explosives on a pipes that you can't really see because there are muddy waters, coming up and going home is not an easy task.
And also September is not the best moment to do this sort of activity. We did experiment, our colleagues from Germany, they did experiment, and they dived into this place to check if it's possible and how it looks like. And we learned that at least it is possible. There are many theories. One of them is saying that they put explosive in a bottle with oxygen. Definitely German investigators, they found on this boat, on Andromeda, they found tracks of explosives. 80 meters, it takes you like 45 minutes to go down, then put explosives, then go up. It's very complicated, and the sea is not a very stable place. In my theory, Andromeda just left divers made some rounds, and returned to the same point. The question how they found the pipeline is the answer is quite easy. You have those pipelines marked on the maps. On the sea maps, you see where it goes and where it is exactly, so it's not the big deal. Actually, this explosion happened one day after Poland opened a new pipeline from Denmark called the Baltic Pipe to become independent from Russian gas. Polish authorities were not really collaborating, definitely not sharing anything with journalists, and as Germans complain, not sharing also with authorities in Germany.
Why would they cover for anyone?
If it is a secret service operation in a way, we don't know who paid for it, who was really behind. But if it is this sort of operation and Poland as a strong ally of Ukraine, I can imagine that some intelligence could secretly, silently help them or at least cover their asses.
Did you find those people who were on the boat?
Some of them, we know the identities. Also,
and they were traveling on their identities?
No, of course they use fake passports, fake IDs. They traveled to Poland, then to Germany, but thanks to the fact that one of them, the driver, was overspeeding, we have a picture of him and the car, because German road trader took a picture. So it helped probably Germans to understand that the tracks are leading to Ukraine.
So how do you, as a journalist, take a picture that's not really high quality of a radar of the driver who is speeding and find the person?
No comments. We have sources. That's how we do. We have sources. We, of course, a lot of work is it's being done online. But I still believe in this old school way of doing journalism, like finding people, because people know the stories, people know the details, and people sometimes like to share. So having good human sources is sometimes even better than having documents or leaks or whatever.
You said you found a couple of those people. So apart from the driver, who was it?
Apart from the driver, there was a diver who used to travel to Germany very often. We found the real owner of this Warsaw-based company.
Did he talk to you?
No, there was a situation. Two journalists of this group researching Nord Stream explosion went to Kiev, Ukraine, to talk to this guy, the real owner of this Polish-based company, Feria Lwowa.
How did they find him? If in the company, in the public registry, there were those proxies. So it means people who are hiding him or who are covering for him. So how do you get to someone who is the real owner?
I think a lot of mistakes were being done in this story by those people. I mean, to prepare cover-up operation, you really need to be prepared and think of every detail. And I think they did not, because it appeared that this Polish company with proxies is sending financial reports to Polish authorities, but the person that is sending those documents is none of the proxies. It's a person living in Kiev.
Do you know a little bit more about him, like any kind of a background? Who is this person?
The person running different businesses in Ukraine, Poland, and also UK. So quite active. Shady character, aggressive guy, perhaps with resources that could cover costs of travel to Poland, implement explosives and so on. But we are not sure. There are still many points in this story that are still unclear.
Could you somehow imagine that the Secret Service would do such a sloppy job of leaving
yes,
so
of
many...
Yes, of course. Asking about Polish service? Definitely.
From Ukraine, like putting a flag on the boat, extracting
There is
a
a theory,
person.
because we are still unsure about many, many details, but there is a theory that the group wasn't really professional, that they hide it, we don't know who are they, but maybe someone with resources. Was it costly? We estimated for 300k euros.
300,000 euros.
Yes.
That's expensive. I would.
That's expensive.
Yeah.
But there is a theory that those people from the crew were trained or were hired as a professional divers, for example. So it was an amateur action run by amateurs with a little help of someone from military service or secret service from Ukraine.
And Poland.
Maybe in Poland, maybe, I have no doubt that Poles are collaborating with Ukrainians also on intelligence level. The behavior of Polish authorities is also quite interesting, because they opposed to exchange any informations with Germans. Germans were begging for months for CCTV materials from this Polish port where Andromeda was seen, and they never got those pictures. Why? The spokesperson for a secret service at the time said
he can't comment.
Not only, but from the knowledge of Polish authorities, those people were tourists. We know they were not. So what is happening here? Is the secret service trying to cover it up? Are they involved? Were they involved? By the way, Polish investigation is still pending. They focus on two directions. One is act of terrorism. Another one is a damage for environment. And Germans, of course, are still doing their investigation and I think actively looking for the rest of the group.
So it was quite fortunate that you are also into the sailing and know the sea very well in order to uncover this story better than all the ongoing investigations. How did you get into the sailing?
For many years, I was a climber. I spent my free time in the mountains, in the Alps.
In the Alps?
In the Alps, in Dolomites mostly. And also in the Tatras in Poland. And 10 years ago, a friend of mine took me for a short trip on the Baltic Sea. Then I realized in the middle of nowhere that there is something I'm looking for also in the mountains. So it's nature, it's a calmness, not too many people around. I think the freedom feeling is also quite strong when you sail. So that was like for me. So I started doing different stages of courses, blah, 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 and became a sailor. And I do it every year, every season, sailing mostly on a Baltic. So that's also why Andromeda story was very interesting to me.
You've received many awards during your career as an investigative reporter, but I know that some years ago you also experienced something that was kind of anti-award. You called it the biggest mistake of your life. So what was it? Could you explain?
I think there is one of the mistakes you can learn from. Still relatively young journalists, I was covering very rich politician, and together with some colleagues from daily I used to work for, Dziennik, we discovered that this guy, very close to the prime minister at the time, he's hiding his assets abroad in a very exotic countries like Cayman Islands, these sort of things. And doing it via many proxies and so on. So typical story. And when we wrote it, we needed additional opinion or whatever. So I got a telephone number to an expert. I had a small kid at the time, like 2 years old son, and we were somewhere, at the sea coast when I got the telephone from the editorial office asking me to make an urgent call to any expert I can find. So I was in a hurry. it doesn't help. So I unintentionally changed one number in this mobile number, whatever it was. And I still by accident called quite funny guy who pretended to be an expert, and he shared his strong opinion actually about the situation. So I published. And it was a kind of a scandal. Personally, it hurt me a lot. I had to recover for a long time because I lost kind of a trust in myself.
But until today, you have no idea who it was?
No, because then he stopped to pick up the phone. Of course, I tried to figure out who was he, but until today, I have no idea. And it's not possible, I mean, legally, because what happened? Actually, nothing happened apart from me being stressed of the situation. And of course, the person who we were covering at the time used this as an argument that I'm not credible journalist, or maybe not journalist at all, blah, blah, blah. So it's a mystery. And let's stay.
How could someone, I mean, like, this is a very cool story because you accidentally call absolutely random guy.
Yeah.
You knew it is supposed to be a guy, but it's like 50% chance. And he was so bright to provide you with a strong opinion and answers.
From today's perspective, I think I didn't realize that what he's talking to me, it's so general, so plain, that maybe I should be more
specific.
Yes. I think, of course, that was my fault. I haven't checked, and we had no fact checker on the board at the time, so there was no one to help me. By the way, there was no one to defend me after the case. I was left alone.
But you know, it was not only your mistake, it was also a mistake of the editors and of the process. So how did it happen that they didn't stop it?
They never felt guilty because...
Like how they never felt guilty?
Because the situation developed, and 2 days after the publication, the newspaper was sold to someone else. So everybody was busy with the new situation. There were some layoffs and so on. So it somehow vanished. So I stayed with the problem for many months, trying to recover, because
it is quite a blow to the credibility.
Yeah, it's a blow. It's a blow. For a young journalist, having this sort of issue is really something big.
But you managed, and you
I think I managed.
Back.
I think I managed, and
Absolutely.
At the time, I think it's more or less connected, because being hurt by the situation, by my own mistake, I wanted to quit the job, but also not really. So I was looking for something else, something different, something that can give me more energy to what I'm doing. But thanks to this, I got own page on the Wikipedia. Because
only thanks to this? No, there are many other awards.
Let's call it award. Yeah, but my Wikipedia page, I have one, started exactly the moment I fucked up this. And then I realized there is a web page on Wikipedia just on me. And of course, I can suspect who's behind. It's investigative journalism. We don't write about flowers and puppies. We write about bad guys, and people feel insulted by what we are doing, and people feel offended, and they want revenge. And there was kind of vendetta from one of the people I wrote about.
You know, you are dealing with bad people. You are being sued, you made mistake. How do you deal with the situation yourself? You know, it can't be only the passion that keeps you going. You need to do some steps or things when you really reset the brain to be able to continue the job. Some people drink a lot. You don't.
I don't. I think that the outdoor activity is something that helps a lot. But I feel guilty, of course. I feel guilty because of the amount of work I've taken on my shoulders, and
You feel guilty towards what?
Toward my family, for example, as a non-present father, you can call it. I don't know if I was non-present father, but I really spend a lot of time working, researching, traveling, so not at home.
Did you ever want to change the job?
Never. I really love what we do, and I haven't said it, but I really like that we met each other, and this bunch of Central Eastern European people, now also colleagues from Baltics. It's for me, it's very important, also on personal level. Yeah, like
It is. I wouldn't do the job otherwise. If we would hate each other, I wouldn't do the job. It's the community that keeps me going.
yeah, and that gives you a huge emotional support because
Purpose.
most of the time you are alone.
Yeah,
And
you're alone, and your family is complaining. Yes.
and suffering, and you have the feeling that you are the bad parent.